morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with another episode of the Snowflake's Viewpoint. Episode, I have to check this, 38. I always have to check this every week. I don't know why. But yes, 38 live streams in since for the Snowflake Viewpoint, guys. It was quite amazing. Obviously, last week I was not here, but I did have something in place for those who did turn up. So I just want to say, to those who did turn up at last Monday's little Labour video special, thank you for those who did. I do apologise that obviously I couldn't be there because obviously I was away. I was away somewhere. I don't know where. No indication whatsoever of it here, guys. But hope you all had a good weekend. Got quite a few topics to talk about today. As I've said in the post, the usual Monday morning post for you guys of what's the action plan for the week. So I've got a bit more work to do on the content tomorrow, as well as some other bits and bobs. But of course, the main priority, I've already applied for a couple of jobs today, so cross fingers I'll get some responses today, the next couple of days, and then tomorrow and whatnot. So yeah, we got the before I just come along to chat. Obviously, I just managed to get the article up for the Rwanda bill getting defeated in the House of Lords. So we'll talk about that, guys, as well. We're also going to be talking about an exclusive from The Guardian, as well as something about an exclusive from iNews, something about ghost high streets. We're also going to be talking about Brexit between Sadiq Khan attacking Labour. Interesting one there. We're going to be looking at that later. And finally, we're going to be talking as well an article from Byline Times about the Culture Secretary hitting out at supposed BBC bias. I'm sure you guys have heard about that already, but we'll talk about them each as we go along. So we've got 5 news stories for you today. I might add a 6th one depending on how time goes. Just add as a little caveat, guys, as well, after the stream, if you guys want to join me in the Discord chat, you're more than welcome to do so as well. Just before we keep going, just make sure you guys hit the like button. It really does help the support channel, and share across social media as well, guys. So who have we got here on this Monday evening? I don't think it's windy now. The wind has gone. It's really died down tonight here, but hopefully it's not too windy where you guys have been. Hugh is here. Good evening, R and all. Good evening, Hugh. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Alistair Keir is here as well. Oh, how the orb! Oh my God, so many orb emojis there. Yeah, I'll show it all in all its glory in just a moment. Ben Shaw is here as well. Good evening, Ben. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Lefty Boater is here as well. Lefty is asking everyone, have you hit the like button? Have you hit the like button? If you don't hit the like button, Ollie is going to be very angry. As you can see, Ollie is very upset right now because not enough people are hitting the like button. So that's so depending on how many likes are done by the end of today, we may turn that frown upside down. The orb is here in all its glory. The lava lamp has not gotten going at all. Don't know why. It's just taking a while for it to get going, but the orb is here in all its glory as well, guys. Jow is here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Good evening, Reg Fairbarn. I hope I said that right. Hope you're doing well. Good. Welcome. Hope you. I don't know if it's. I can't remember if it's your first time. I'm pretty sure I've seen you before. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, guys, let's crack on because we are here to talk about some of the latest news. So this one, obviously, from Sky News. I'll make sure that's definitely right. Yeah. So the headline is, of course, the blow for Rishi Sunak as the Rwanda plan suffers its first defeat in the House of Lords. The peers voted 214 to 171 to not ratify the agreement. There was a part of me thinking that maybe they wouldn't defeat it straight away, but I guess I don't know where that idea come from. Maybe it's because of some of the ideas that Phil from a different bias was saying, But this is but I shouldn't really think like that. I think it should be a very clear message. The House of Lords are basically saying, your bill sucks. It breaks international law. It's not going to make a difference. It's a waste of time. That's kind of what I'm thinking when I think of this bill. I mean, I'm just picturing this Lord going into number 10 and just throwing it in Rishi Sunak's face and saying, this sucks. It's just something like that. Because that's what it is, guys. It's the House of Lords, like I've said about this bill, guys, and we'll read into it. I just hope they drag it out to the next election. I really hope they drag their feet in it. Remember, it was not a manifesto commitment to send refugees to Rwanda, so the Lords can take their sweet time with this for as long as they want as well. Colin is here. Colin from New York. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I feel like Colin from Portsmouth, but you're Colin from New York, so I'm gonna try to start saying that. Colin is from New York. Matt Green, yes, Matt Green did drop a video today. Yeah, we'll check out that video later. Don't you worry, Kira. Definitely check out that video as well. So let's read into this, guys. So, the House of Lords has defied Rishi Sunak to vote against the ratification of the UK's new treaty with Rwanda in what could prove a damaging development for the safety of the Rwanda bill. The upper house was voted following a report last week that recommended the treaty would not be ratified. It comes after Rishi Sunak challenged peers not to frustrate the will of the people. I don't remember this being a like I said, guys, I don't know where this will of the people thing is. I think he's saying don't upset the government instead of will of the people, because I haven't seen people marching in the streets demanding people get sent to Rwanda. I haven't seen that protest, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. Labour's Lord Peter Goldsmith, who proposed the debate, said the report had been supported unanimously by cross-party International Agreements Committee IAC, including Boris Johnson's ally, Lord Eddie Leicester. The House of Lords can only advise that the signing of a treaty is delayed. However, if the Commons vote is the same way, it can delay the signing of the treaty. The wording of the motion said the House resolves, in accordance with Section 20 of the Constitutional Reform and Governance Act 2010, that His Majesty's Government should not ratify the UK's Rwanda Agreement on the Asylum Partnership until the protections it provides have been fully implemented. It is upon this treaty, which contains the agreement that makes Rwanda safe, that the Safety of the Rwanda Bill was introduced. The bill will be debated in the Lords from next week. Before the vote, peers for several hours debated the Rwanda agreement and even addressed the Prime Minister's comments last week. Labour's Lord Velin Coker said, nobody, not least the Prime Minister, should hold press conferences lecturing us about what our role is, when all we seek to do is improve it and to act in our proper constitutional role. Yeah, he has no right to tell the House of Lords what to do. He really doesn't. He added the government has not provided the evidence to support what it is saying needs to be done, either to the committee or to the House of Lords. There's a great video by Daily Blase, guys, if you haven't checked out as well. He did He showed the footage from Jess Phillips really bashing not just the Rwanda bill, but talking about the seriousness of how sex traffickers are occurring, and some of the British courts sending them back. It was really powerful speech from her. If you haven't seen Daily Blase's latest video, definitely worth checking out, guys, if you get a chance to as well. And there was actually a video, if you want to watch the whole debate from today from the House of Lords. It's about 4 hours long if you want to watch it. It is on the YouTube channel House of Lords if you really want to watch it. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. I don't know if Daily Blase plans to watch all 4 hours of it, but he might need to. But yeah, it is up. It is on. There's a YouTube channel called House of Lords, so I believe that's a video coverage of what goes on in the House of Lords. If anybody's interested in that, just for reference. So how can we determine whether Rwanda is safe when the very thing upon that is dependent and has not been provided to us, and what the committee is saying? Lord Goldsmith, who was the Attorney General under Tony Blair, told peers that Parliament cannot say whether Rwanda is safe because the steps contained in the treaty have not been introduced or shown to be functional. The IAC report that some aspects of the monitoring arrangement under the treaty are unclear or incomplete. It also said the proposed monitoring committee, which what would watch over the system in Rwanda, had weak powers. On the other end of the spectrum, the Conservative former Foreign Office Minister Lord David Howell criticised the rather patronising tone one hears from the comments about Rwanda. Pointing out that the nation was a member of the Commonwealth, he said, "I can understand the Rwandan government's exacerbation, and that several senior legal figures and the implication of their system somehow has got to be reinforced, made over and renewed to bring up to scratch to be called safe." And that's all that they have for it at the moment, guys. Yeah, because it was only just broken not too long ago. But yeah, it's so what do we guys think? I mean, I just feel like we are wasting our time. We're wasting taxpayers' money. The Lords could be doing something far more better. The Parliament going through all this, it's a complete farce, guys. It's my personal honest opinion. I just think we're wasting too much time on this when there's so many more issues taking place in the country. Yes, immigration is something people are concerned about and needs to be dealt with, and I'm sure that there are people who agree with that. It is an issue. I wouldn't say it's the main issue. I think people dealing with the cost of living crisis is the biggest thing in the economy. You know, businesses are struggling right now, and we're going to be talking about businesses in one of the articles coming up, as I've mentioned already. This is not the top major priority, but it is an issue that needs to be addressed. And Rwanda is not the way to deal with it, in my honest opinion, guys. It really, really is not. Right, I'm just going to scroll up in the chat just to see everyone saying hello to each other. Love to the family, says Colin. Everyone's saying hello to each other. Rwanda might be the first nail in the coffin of the TCA, and I'm sure the Lords know it. Yeah, that will be. Yeah, that's why I think the Lords will stall. I really hope that the Lords stall it down till the general election. That's what I'm hoping. Picked up a bit from my house today, like the bird feeder, says Hugh. Hello, number 3. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. Jao says to Colin Thompson, I heard about some commentators on the TV here talking about it. There are people in the EU that believe the TCA is not going to be renewed by the EU, worrying for the Brits. We'll have to wait and see on that one. That's a bit of a worrying thought. I hear similar on Canadian news too, says Jao, says Colin as well. That's not a good sign. We'll probably start hearing that in the media at some point. It's not good that the UK. For the UK to diverge, the UK economy will suffer, and politics matter a lot. It does matter a lot. Yeah, it really does. Hugh says some lemon had his tree fall on his car, and he was warned. He sold his CCTV clip to the BBC. The sneaky melt. Yeah, there was a lot of howling wind here in the UK. Just in case people are wondering what's all that about. Yeah, weather. Okay, the next one, guys. This is an interesting one here. It's another short one, but it's from The Guardian. And the headline is, the Tories are hire a coordinator to get expat supporters to vote in the general election. The exclusive reveal the role is to boost turnout in key seats as extra 2.2 million overseas voters could become eligible to take part by proxy. I don't know if this is generally actually a good thing or a bad thing for the Conservatives, because there will be some that will vote Conservative, but given what they've seen, I mean, they can see the perspective of when they are living outside the UK, within the EU or outside. They're not influenced as much by the British media, and one of the things that they will see is that the country is doing really, really bad from the outside, and they will see that foreign medias will be highlighting. Whenever they talk about Britain, about how bad things are really, really going. So I think it's really important that the Conservatives should not assume that they're going to get more voters by this. I don't think so. My personal opinion, I think they're going to end up giving more voters to Labour. But there's also that caveat of, let's not forget that this is a first past the post system as well. So that will obviously play a part in this too. It will be interesting, to say the least, how the voters. I'm curious to see if they do after this general election, and do they separate? Can they separate, like, in terms of percentage, like proxy votes, who voted for what, as opposed to the rest of the UK and where they vote? I'd be curious to know if they're able to do that, and just to see the numbers of what people what overseas voters actually voted for. I'm very curious to know what that number would be, if I'm absolutely honest, guys. So the Conservative Party has hired an overseas voter registration coordinator to mobilise thousands of supporters who live abroad to vote in target seats the party needs to win at the next general election to stay in office. The job description from party headquarters seen by The Guardian but no longer online. So the role will focus on boosting the turnout of the Tory expat voters in crucial electoral contests. It suggests the operation would coordinate UK-based proxy voters to increase Tory support to the so-called 80-20 contest. These are 80 Tory seats, including many of those in the Red Wall, that the party need to retain and 20 it wants to win. The ad from last August said the job included managing the coordination of UK-based proxy voter campaign focused on ensuring maximum turnout of Conservative supporters in the key 80-20 contest. An extra 2.2 million overseas voters who have lived abroad for more than 15 years regained the right to vote in UK elections last Tuesday after a statutory instrument that was approved by Parliament in late December almost unnoticed came into force. This is the first I heard of this. The expansion means that they will be able to register in the constituency of their last address at which they were residents if they are able to provide relevant documentation, or failing that, through local records on the word of an eligible British resident. On the word of a British resident. That sounds more like dodgy than anything. So they're just going to take the word of an eligible British resident. That sounds like voter rigging there. That bit there. They will then be able to vote by proxy, with one proxy voter able to vote on behalf of as many as 4 overseas voters. What? So some could potentially go in and vote 4 or 5 times Conservative. 1 for themselves and 4 for them. But not because the way they can do it is although people are going to be proxy voting, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to vote for what that person generally wants. They may just make them vote Conservative for the benefit of the Conservative Party. This sounds like I'm alleging this is what may happen. That's really concerning. That's election rigging. That is. The Electoral Commission raised concerns in response to an earlier consultation in 2016 that voters might be tempted to choose a marginal seat that they had once lived in rather than a safe seat, even if it had not been the last address that they lived in before leaving. Exactly. This stinks of rigging. This really stinks of rigging. Concerns were also raised about the difficulty of checking information and the potential for fraud. The Association of Electoral Administrators noted it would be challenging to reinforce penalties for supplying false information or falsely attempting to applications from people overseas. Tory HQ has already stepped up support for the 80 seats, including surveys of local voters, prolifying the makeup of constituencies, and money to fund campaigning to create literates such as bespoke newsletters. Last week's change means British expats will now have a vote for life, delivering on a Tory manifesto promise, regardless of how long they have lived overseas or whether they will have used any services or paid any taxes in the UK in recent years. The government has said that the change represents the biggest increase in franchise since full female suffragette in 1928. The holders of the new role also organise engagement between UK politicians and expat voters, working with the sister party organisations such as the Republicans in the US and collaborating with the network of Conservative abroad supporters. All Britons who live abroad were eligible to vote until 2001, when Tony Blair's government introduced a new rule to end the right for those who have been overseas for more than 15 years. The Lib Dems stymised Tories' efforts to expand the franchise again during the coalition years. The change, which brings the UK into line with countries including the US, France, Italy and New Zealand, also means that overseas residents with more tenuous links to the UK can donate to British political parties. Donate. The word there, donate, they say. This is something that just feels like this is where you really need to start worrying a little bit. A Tory spokesperson said, as promised in the 2019 manifesto, the government is making it easier for British citizens living abroad to vote in the parliamentary elections. Overseas voting is a mainstream democratic practice as seen in France, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain and the United States. The change in voting rights is the legacy of the late Harry Schindler, who fought a battle for almost 20 years. He challenged a 15-year rule in the High Court in 2016. When successive governments failed to deliver on their manifesto promise, he brought the case to the European Court of Justice. He remains sceptical but never gave up hope that his campaign would finally bear fruit, and in March 2022 he declared the battle was nearly over when legislation was finally drafted. He lived to see it pass through Parliament. Yeah, I'm trying to sound it like a bit heroic, but if I'm absolutely honest, guys, I'm very concerned about this. Like some of the things there that the Guardian are stating there is very worrying indeed. The donation factor, but to be fair, we already know that anyone can donate to the Conservative Party, but they're just making sure that people over abroad can expand that as well. The rights for people who haven't voted for who haven't been in the country for a long time, you know, British expats, some of them even as well, and let's be clear, some of them probably have no idea what's going on in the UK and are just going to vote Conservative just for the sake of it as well. That's the other thing as well. Some of them just won't pay attention to what's actually going on in the UK. This is the thing, and it just feels like a little bit like voter rigging. I'm not saying this is voter rigging at all, but it comes across like that, especially when somebody can have the power to do 4 proxy votes, and they could all be Conservative as well as their own. So you end up voting 5 times for the Conservatives. Like I just feel like this is extremely concerning to say the least, guys. I'm just going to scroll a bit up in the chat. Some lemon, yeah, I've read that already. It's not good for the UK to diverge the UK economy of suffering politics matter a lot, says Jow. As Keir says, now remember to get photo ID for the UK general election when it comes, chat. Yes, thank you for reminding us. Yes, you got to make sure. Excuse me, we'll keep reminding people, obviously, closer to the election. But yes, make sure you have voter ID. If you don't know it, please Google it. Please look it up. The ID you need. No, actually, don't Google it. If you have a passport, guys, make sure you do. If you don't have a passport, I suppose you will have to Google if you don't have a passport. I'll be on, if I'm honest. If you're not 100% sure, join our Discord server and ask us, and I'll have a look for you, as well, which is free to join, by the way. By key seats, they mean Tory constituencies, says Lefty Butter. Yeah. Hugh says, aqua planning with boots on yesterday. I was there, and suddenly I was 10 feet away with the wind. You got blown away, Hugh. You got blown away. Jow says, a lot of the immigrants, expats, do not exist here and are not very keen on voting or even to talk about the UK. This is Portugal. Yeah, I think there'd be probably a bit more in Spain, if I'm honest, but we'll see. Jow says, but in Spain there'll be a lot of idiots, pardon my English, they will vote Tory. Yeah, exactly, yeah. New York City is back to freezing point. Oh God, stay warm, Colin. Stay warm to you and friends and family, buddy. Stay warm. So Larry the Cat is here. Good evening, everybody, he says. So Larry the Cat there causing ruckus in number 10 as always, leaving plenty of presents for Rishi Sunak to clean up. Jow says, vote for life. Portuguese citizens that are immigrants just need to be registered from the local constituency or embassy to vote. No Portuguese citizen loses the right to vote ever. That's good, yeah. I just feel like the timing of this, it's my honest opinion, like I get that, but I just feel like the timing of this just feels like an attempt yet to get more voters to Conservatives. That's how it feels like to me. Party politics is poo, says number 3. But in Portugal we have ID cards with a civil number, physical number, social security number, personal data, and the only document we need, and we can do almost anything online. Yeah, you have an ID card. That's something that Britain doesn't have, and something that British people don't want. I generally think an ID card of some sorts would work for Britain, but people wouldn't accept it. People would be kicking up a fuss. In my opinion, it should be free. You know, to do this whole voter ID thing, people should be given a very easy way to access a free ID to be able to vote. They're making it very difficult for people to be able to vote. I do not understand this British system of voting. Yeah, it's not a fair system, let me put it that way. Number 3 says, I've checked the climate hashtag on Twitter recently. Scary. Not the latest figures, but the numbers of deniers around. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, if you guys, number 3 did a little video on the climate. If you guys want to check that out on his YouTube channel. The whole system doesn't make sense. They're just in the nominal democracy, he says to Jow. And Jow says an idea is a practical document. Yeah, I agree with that. Right, so this next one, you guys, is from exclusive from the iNews. Let me make sure I've got that on properly. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share across social media. That really does help the algorithm as well, if you guys can do that for me. So the headline here from the I is Ghost Town UK. 5,000 businesses disappeared from the high street last year. 5,000 businesses, guys. Once thriving businesses have gone to the wall because of sky-high energy bills, borrowing costs and staff shortages, says the Lib Dems. How much have we talked about how often do you go out of your home? For those of you who are here, who are in England in particular. I don't know if this is... I'm going to assume that you don't have empty high streets in Scotland. I'm just going to go out on a little bit of a limb and say that. But how many of you here from England watching this, and you step out of your home and you walk your high street and there's not at least one, if not two, maybe even 4 or 5, you walk past shops that are just all boarded up, or that they've been closed down from last year, and you say to yourself, I wonder what's going to go there. Another charity shop, a food bank, another coffee shop, nothing really fancy or interesting. Because here's the thing, a lot of businesses really are not incentivized to set up more shops than that in the UK. They're just way too expensive. It's way too expensive right now for them. They're just not, the incentive is not there. Before I left my job, I remember after the whole Liz Truss fiasco, I remember inside the company I was working for, they were really put off from wanting to open up new stores simply because of the bills. Like, the energy bills were just too high, and they were desperately trying to make sure that shops would reduce as much energy as possible, because the energy bills were skyrocketing too. The small businesses suffered as a consequence. There is a shop, I'm not going to say exactly where I am, but there's literally another town literally just about a bus away from me, and they had this there was this household shop. An old couple had been running that shop for, I don't know, 40 years or something like that, a long time. They have been through quite a lot, and they survived COVID. The business survived COVID, and they survived it. And last year they packed up because they just couldn't afford it anymore. They wanted to keep going. They really didn't want to shut up shop, and they've had to for like 40 years. That's gone. And I spoke to them because I used to live in that area. And I spoke to them last time I went to the shop. I think it was like a week or two before they shut up shop, and they were saying to me that they just can't pay the bills. They said they just can't pay the bills. They want to stay open, they want to keep going, but they just can't pay the bills. They even tried fundraising it, and they just couldn't get the money, guys, to keep going, and they had to shut up shop. And now there's another big empty space on that high street, and it's probably going to get taken up by another charity or another coffee shop or something like that. And that seems to be the premise that we're coming across every single time, guys, when I think about these high streets. Mark Wilkie, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend, buddy. 91 Leeds, good to see you, buddy, as well. Hope you have a good weekend as well. I will come back to you guys in the chat about high streets, because I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about them. Let's read a bit into it then. So, Britain's ghost towns, high streets lost nearly 5,000 shops, pubs and restaurants last year, the Eye can reveal. I've said this about pubs, by the way. I'm just going to say this about pubs, guys. It really pisses me off that it is cheaper to buy beer in supermarkets than it is to buy in pubs. It should be the other way round. It should be so much the other way round. Just imagine if beer was so much and alcohol was so much cheaper in pubs than they were in supermarkets, you would be more incentivized to go to pubs and socialize with people, as opposed to buying cases, like all those cases from supermarkets, and then you're sitting at home. Where is the incentive for people to go to pubs now, considering the prices it costs? That really triggers me when I think about pubs. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Restaurants, again, like they need the energy bills are killing them. The energy bills are killing them, and they can cut back. There again, not last year. I think it was the year before. There was a cafe I know that had to shut up shop. They've been around for a long time, but I don't know if it was last year or the year before. But basically, COVID essentially killed them. They couldn't keep going. Again, another one that's been around for a long time, and it's just, yeah. A net total of 4,415 retail businesses and 555 accommodations and food firms disappeared from the high street in the first 9 months of 2023, the House of Commons Library research shows. Oh, by the way, this is someone who lives just outside central London, essentially. I live in, I won't say specifically where I am, but I live in County Kent, but I am in the London, inside the M25. So I'm not even someone that's living like in a really rough area, or somewhere up the north, or like down on the south coast or anything like that, you know. And I've given you examples of where businesses are shutting up shop around London. And I remember the last time I went to I remember the last time, guys, when I went to a seaside shop, a seaside resort, or shop, or places outside of London, and I've seen the boarded up shops. I can't remember where it was, but I remember I went to one seaside town, I think it was last year or year before, and they still had a Woolworths there. They still had the old Woolworths. And if you guys know in the UK, you guys have heard of Woolworths. They've never replaced that shop. Why? Why are we not investing in our high streets? You know, frustrating to say the least, guys. It marked a continuation of a trend that began in 2022 when town centres began shredding retail businesses with the net loss of 5,460 stores. Last year saw the first net drop in the number of accommodations and food outlets, including hotels, pubs and eat-ins and takeaway restaurants, since 2019. That was when the research based on data from the Office of National Statistics began. The Liberal Democrats who commissioned the study said the figures showed Britain's high streets were being turned into ghost towns, and warned the problem would be made worse by the implementing immigration crackdown, which will be made more difficult to hire workers from overseas. Following the collapse of the cut-price retail chain Wilko's last year, Wilko's was one that me and my missus used to go in a few times as well, before they we bought one or two things from them as well. Another one that had to bite the bullet as well. We saw the closure of 400 stores. Business Minister Kevin Hollerake was forced to insist that the British High Street was not dead, but instead reshaping itself. Reshaping itself. Reshaping itself. What are you doing about it? Nothing. I'm interested to know, guys, what's Labour's plans to revive the high streets? What are they going to do to revive the high streets? What are they going to do to incentivise businesses to open up shops in high streets? What's their plan? That's what I want to know. In Colchester, Essex, locals formed a campaign in 2022 to save their high street following the closure of Marks and Spencer's department store, which served the community for 90 years. More than 5,000 residents signed a petition calling on M&S to reverse its decision to relocate the outlet to a retail park in the outskirts of the city. Sarah Westerner, who launched the petition, wrote, "The decision by M&S was not being made in the interest of customers, but only in the interest of larger profits." What do private businesses only care about, guys? How many times do we talk about this? Private businesses only care about one thing: money, money, money. If they're not making money, if a shop is not making money, as someone who's worked in retail as well, if a store is not making money, if they have an opportunity to turn it around, if they don't start turning it around, the store is going to get shut. It's going to close, because nobody wants a loss-making store. It's as simple as that. It's damaging to the environment, with more people having longer car journeys. Lots of people will not be able to travel on buses or walk into shops. When people don't have money in their pockets as well, what are they supposed to do? Like, as well. Like, people are struggling to make ends meet as well. How many times we talked about the cost of living crisis? So this plays a factor into it as well, which in turn plays into healthcare, because we don't have people who are sick and not well, are not able to work, which then in turn goes back to the fact that, this even ties into Brexit, because businesses are paying more to get things from the EU. Again, that's another thing that's tying into it. So, and then we're talking about how all these things come together, guys. Education, healthcare, all this kind of stuff. It's all tying in together. Everything is going down at the moment, and it's been going down for a long time. The department store remains boarded up 16 months after its closure, with the city's former Liberal Democrat MP describing it as an eyesore. Yeah, 16 months. There's another department store that's been closed for what was the big one that went? Debenhams, that's it. There's a Debenhams in a shopping mall not far from where I live that closed up, like many others. It was a 2-floor one. Still not being taken up. Still empty, guys. Still empty. So Bob Russell represents Colchester from 1997 to 2015. Told the Colchester Gazette that this store was not losing money. Its closure has robbed the city centre of a prime retail outlet, abandoning a huge amount of loyal customers. And now we have the eyesore of Blackboards, where once it was a bustling store with welcome windows. A spokesperson for MMS told the paper that the chain would not be returning to the former site due to the popularity of its new location. That's the thing. Retail parks make money. High streets are not money makers anymore. Retail outlets, those park areas, that's where people go to shop now. That's where the money is, for these shops. Any opportunity they can get to be a part of them, they'll take it. They will take it over high streets now, because people aren't shopping enough on the high streets. It's a real struggle out there. And then also as well, the I don't know obviously what it was, the pay rates as well, but I think pay rates also play a factor into it as well. Last year, Boots announced it was closing down 300 shops, while Waterspoons put dozens of pubs up for sale, and Marks & Spencer shut 67 stores, and a range of other big firms announced closures. A lot of businesses are not even owned by a lot of retail businesses, you have to remember as well, are not even owned by Britain as well. So our interest is not even, it's null and void as well. That's also important to remember. The hospitality sector has warned that the current labour shortage looks set to get even worse under the government's plans to raise the skilled worker minimum salary threshold from 26,200 to 38,700 in a bid to cut net migration to the UK from spring. Yeah, even that, guys. We talked about how the skilled worker thing. Again, where are people going to find the jobs? Where are people going to find the jobs? Answers on a postcard. Liberal Democrats Treasury spokeswoman Sarah Ollie said, far too many pubs, restaurants and cafes are closing their doors for the last time due to sky-high energy bills, borrowing costs and staff shortages. Our high streets are being turned into ghost towns because once thriving businesses have gone to the wall. The government's short-sighted immigration plans risk dealing the final blow to many struggling businesses in the hospitality sector. Ministers should give small businesses the boost they need by scrapping their damaging new visa rules and properly overhauling the business rate system. The figures show that for the first 3 quarters of 2023, 23,975 retail businesses closed and 22,000 accommodations and food firms closed. At the same time, 19,560 retail businesses opened. So we had nearly 24,000 retail businesses closed, 22,000 accommodations and food closed, and 19,560 retail businesses open. So that's, we're talking about 3,000 less retail businesses opened. 3,000 difference there. 21,425 accommodations and food businesses opened compared to 23,000. So that's like a 2,000 or so less again last year. So less. We're having less retail businesses, less accommodations, less food firms, less of them, leaving the high streets in the net defect. A government spokesperson says we're recently extending measures to support pubs and hospitalities, including offering a 75% discount on business rates of up to £110,000 and providing tax relief for the sector worth nearly £2.4 billion. Hello? Again, we're just going to throw money at the problem and hopefully it'll fix it. This is their answer to everything. Our approach is fair. Do you think the Conservatives' approach here to the retail high street is fair? Or businesses on the high street fair? Striking the balance between reducing net migration and ensuring businesses can recruit from domestic workforce where it's needed from overseas. We've already said about the crisis with regards to the workforce here, guys. We already said this. Too many people are sick, unhealthy, not able to get the treatments that they need, so they're stuck on benefits, which means that we as taxpayers are paying out for their benefits because they are forced at home because they can't get the doctor's appointment or get the operation that they need to make themselves better so that they're able to go back into the workforce, those who want to go back into the workforce, but they can't do that because we have a crumbling NHS, because they keep saying they've invested in the NHS, but they won't invest enough money in the NHS. And this also ties into the retail and businesses, because these businesses and that are not getting enough workforce, but they can't get enough domestic workforce because of what I just said. But now they are going to even struggle to get overseas workforce, because we're going to make it harder for overseas workforce for people to come in, and the incentive for them to come in is going to be even less because they won't be able to bring families and friends over. Solution? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I know. I think I've summed it up pretty simply there, guys. But let me scroll up a little bit in the chat, just because I know I've missed quite a few comments, but I'm sure you guys will agree with most of what I said. But let me scroll up a bit more. Mark Wilkie says our high streets are crap too. You don't have to. Whereabouts are you, Mark? You don't have to tell me exactly, but give me a rough estimate of whereabouts you are, buddy. Jal says there's a guy called Wednesdale talking about it. I have seen some of his videos. And there's another guy, I can't recall at the time, talking about the homeless people and the common folk. Lefty Bio says, I'm in quite a posh area at the moment and there's 2 empty shops. My hometown, however, is a completely different story. Yeah, even in, like you just said, even in a posh area, like, there's empty shops. That's the thing. Even in, like, it's happening everywhere. You know, I've got to be careful. Sometimes I may end up accidentally, like, blocking somebody by accident with this phone, because I have to use it to read the chat. So I'm trying to, because I've done that before by mistake. Everyone's saying hello there. Jao is plugging the Discord again. The Discord is in the link. If you guys want to scroll up, Jao's got the link for the Discord. If you're not a member, you're more than welcome to join our community. Completely free to join us, guys. I will be in the after chat after the show if you guys want to come and chat with me then. 37.9% of UK small businesses fail annually, says Colin. Yeah, they're being left out to dry. Number 3 says I want to open a coffee shop. It's not legal yet, however. Well, if you ever open a coffee shop, number 3, let me know so I can come down there and buy. I won't say a coffee because I don't drink coffee, but if you're doing a hot chocolate, I'll definitely have one, buddy. Jao says the coffee machine is located here at buymeacoffee.com/reganelite. If you want to buy me a coffee, you're under no obligations to do so, guys. And Jao has also plugged the Patreon, guys. If you want to check out the Patreon as well, there's exclusive content on there. I've got some more exclusive content coming later in the week on there, guys. Definitely worth checking out as well. My 2 local towns, Cameron and Loverville, says Hugh. I can't pronounce those names. I apologise. After 14 years, there are suddenly now total toilets. All EU funding gone. Yes, EU funding. That's another caveat as well. The EU funding that these local communities and councils had is gone, and they wonder why they're going bankrupt. They never got recouped that money from the government as well. That's a very good point, Hugh. Well done for pointing that out. I forgot about that. 91 Lee said, great manager, had a pretty good career as a player too, Thomas. Wandering Turnip has some fab vids on the death of the high street. Yeah, was that Lee Corn when he was looking for the hunt for turnips? Number 3, Bounding Cupcakes too, says Alistair Key. Yeah, if you're doing cupcakes too, we'll definitely all come to your coffee shop, number 3. That's the same with my local Woolies. Problem here is retail parks on the edge of town. Yeah, that's the thing. They force people to go out to the edge of these towns because they put them all together in one place. That's what they're doing now. Reshaping itself into outlet malls, says Celerity Cat. And that was Mark Wilkie, the previous comment. It's all a deliberate strategy and assault on the human spirit, says number 3. How long before the American big retail steps in and buys out the competition? They're already stepping in, aren't they? To be fair. Seafood mobs have a video entitled BHS, a metaphor of the general degradation, says number 3. Even out the town shopping centres are going a bit crap now, says Hugh. Welcome to the Brexit, sir, says Lefty Bar. Yeah, Brexit. Tim, but dim closing pubs on deer. What pity, never mind, says Larry the Cat. You should see the shopping malls, defunct derelicts in the USA. Yeah, I've seen some of them, Hugh. Yeah, really bad. Capitalism is evil, says number 3. It doesn't value human life and promotes pollution, including burning of fossil fuels, of course. All you hear from the British Tory politicians is retrospective. BOLLOX. Excuse me. Colin says post-Brexit, UK needs a small business development programme. Yeah, we do need some kind of programme. I really hope Labour have something. Hugh says, I saw them questioning the UK's vulnerable to aggressive economic attacks and sitting back to anyone. They still thriving here. I live 5 minutes from my high street, but need to travel 2 miles to the edge of town for most things, says Mark. Number 3, that's a very kind super chat. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. Good news, homeless people will be able to get sheltered soon in prison. Do you know what about homeless people, number 3? Do you remember that during the pandemic, all the homeless people magically had homes? Did you know that? It's like, yeah, we had the accommodations the whole time, but the government didn't want to tell us. Do you remember that? People forget that. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way, number 3. Really appreciate it. And did you guys know you can join YouTube membership for just as little as 99p as well? Definitely, you can do that as well, which really does help out the channel. Gal says a big retailer enters the town, drops prices enough to sink the local businesses, and then when it has the market, it raises the prices, and people have to pay them. That's they really do harm the high streets. My parents live. I won't tell you where they live, but my parents live in a very in a town. I still consider it a village, but it's a fairly decent town. They have a massive Tesco's, but they also still have a lot of local shops, and people still go out of their way to shop in those local shops still, despite the fact that there's a huge Tesco's there. That's what's keeping them going, but for how long I don't know. Mark says I'm on the 5k, 7 miles north of Edinburgh. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna go out on the limb and say it's probably not as bad up there in Scotland as it is in England, but I'm only just I don't know what it's like up there in comparison to England, and I'm sure the Scottish government. I'm just spitballing here, but I'm assuming that the SNP and the Scottish government are trying to help to protect the retail high street up there. Lancashire High Street are not that bad. Motherwell not bad. Wilsall is worse. Cross Hands, Cambridgeshire, West Wales. It's interesting here. It's booming, really. Oh, wow, that's good. Number 3 says, I live in South Bristol. No shops nearby with Lidl and Morrison's each 10 minutes walk away. No coffee shops. Regan will pop into number 3's coffee for a nice spare cake. Yeah, I do like my cakes. I have a sweet tooth. We'll call the place Geiger, I think. Yeah, keep. Yeah, we'll definitely come to that if it comes to pass, buddy. My high street used to have 3 cinemas, but had none for the past 20 years. Can I get a good bagel in Bristol? Colin says to number 3. Canonburth isn't on the coast. Oops, I'm in Glenafors. I'm in RFFC in KDY. Says to Hugh. Mark says to Hugh. Prisons in Scotland, porridge made from Highland Spring water, Dalish, tad of salt, spoonful of cream, teaspoon of honey, says Hugh. Countdown to Power is here. He says, evening all, sorry I'm late. No worries, buddies, no worries. Make sure you guys check out the YouTube channel, Countdown to Power, as well. Wow, I've really spoken way too much about this, guys. We're going to be going over time, unfortunately. Oh, by the way, just for your reference, Countdown to Power, your content is, I've got the bot set up on the Discord server, so whenever your videos drop, people are notified of it on the Discord community, just so you know, buddy. So I hope that helps bring in a few more viewers to your channel. Right, guys, let's break the ice a little bit and have a little bit of fun. Got this very short video, guys. This is how social media sells things to you these days, guys. Have you ever just had this ad pop up and you just think, how pathetic is this? Well, Michael Spicer has a brilliant ad here, guys. I hope you enjoy this advertisement.
Introducing the only pen you'll ever need, PurPen. It's a perfect pen. Made a mistake? Don't worry. With PurPen you can just cross it out and start again. PurPen comes with an adjustable nib, so no more of those bloody lids. If you wanted, you could run PurPen under a tap, but that would ruin it. You can leave PurPen anywhere, next to a plant, underneath a radiator, or you can put it on the stairs. With PurPen you can write anything you want because it is a pen. PurPen.
It's a pen. That you know, with the music and how he talks and all that kind of stuff. It's a pen. This is how you sell a pen. It's true. It's true. It's so obvious. It's great one. I mean, I know it's dumb, guys, but you know, it's just like, it just makes sense. It's a pen. Oh God. Right, let's go to the next one, guys. We're going to be going over time again. Sausages. Right, so this one's from The Independent. Brexit, guys. So Sadiq Khan attacks Labour's omerta silence over rejoining the EU single market. London's mayor said the code of silence means you can't talk about economic reintegration with Brussels. He's right. Keir Starmer, well, he has to. He keep denying it. But my gut feeling about this, guys, is that the only reason why Keir Starmer is ruling it all out is just because they're not in power. I generally believe, and yeah, I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong. I generally believe they might U-turn when they go into power. I generally hope that because they know how bad things are. They know businesses are screaming out for help, and something needs to change with regards to this because we cannot recover until we are seriously looking at not just closer alignment with the EU, but actually rejoin the EU single market. I know rejoining the EU outright is not something that can happen within a few years. That's a long way away. But we should seriously be looking at ways that we can rejoin the EU join the single market. I wouldn't say rejoin, but look at proposals of what we can do down the line. I hope Labour do look at that in all seriousness. So London's Mayor Sadiq Khan has criticised the omerta silence which has prevented the party from debating whether the UK could rejoin the EU single market after Brexit. The senior Labour figure suggested that there was a code of silence which stops the Keir Starmer's party discussing bolder steps to reintegrate with Brussels. Mr Khan, a leading critic of Boris Johnson's hard Brexit deal, has previously called for Britain to consider signing up again to the blocs, customs union and an economic single market. Sir Keir continues to insist that there is no way a Labour government would rejoin the single market or customs union and rule out a deal to re-establish freedoms of movements as a red line that he would not cross. Speaking at a Q&A event at the Fabian Society conference in London on Saturday, the Mayor said it was time to have the conversation about the meaningful alignment. He said rejoining the EU's economic alliance should be on the table when the current Brexit deal comes up for review in 2025. God, there's so many misconceptions about that review. People need to be careful about it. I'm not saying today that we should rejoin the European Union. What I'm saying is the Shadow Foreign Secretary David Lammy is onto something when he's saying we should have a closer relationship with the European Union. Yes, we should have a closer relationship with the European Union. Mr Khan then criticises the Anwar and Mafia team for a pact of silence, which means that you can't talk about being close to the European Union. Joining a single market, joining the customs union. The London Mayor said the economic cost of this extreme hard Brexit is huge, having commissioned a recent study which found that it has already cost the UK economy £140 billion. The damning study of Cambridge Econometrics has found that Britain's decision to leave the EU is set to leave Britain's economy £311 billion worse off by the middle of the next decade. I had so many people in the comment section debate this number, and I'm like. Really? Like, you're really going to try and play off that we aren't worse off from Brexit? Like, please. This could be incorrect. This might not be the most accurate of number, but we are worse off as a nation because we're out of the EU. Mr Khan has also said Rishi Sunak's government is using the Rwanda deportation plan in the same way they use Brexit as a deflection for all the problems that they have caused to our country. Yeah, 100% agree with that. He called for the Labour Party to speak up on the benefits of immigration and diversity, rather than try to match the Tories on promise to lower migration levels. I think the only reason they're not doing that is because, again, the right-wing media, the power that they have. I think that's the only reason. Again, if they get into power, which we hope they do, things obviously maybe their position Labour may change when they come into power. Meanwhile, Labour's North Ireland Secretary Hilary Bean claimed the EU will breathe an audible sigh of relief that the party wins the general election later this year. Mr. Ben touted the benefits of stronger alliance with the bloc, highlighting both economic and security benefits and growing geopolitical uncertainty. The EU is a bit tired of negotiating with Britain, Mr. Ben said in a speech at the left-wing think tank's event. And there is no doubt with the arrival of a Labour government, if we win, we'll be greeted with the EU with a big and audible sigh of relief. Yeah, I think the EU will be very happy with a Labour government, but they will be concerned about the possibility of Conservatives coming back in. They will always be concerned about that. And I think eventually there's going to be a moment when we look at each other across the channel and say, you know what, we're still big and important trade partners, we're still friends and allies, we are cooperating on foreign policy and security. We need to do more of that, so it would make sense to have a closer relationship. Mr. Ben also added, why does it matter so much? Well, clearly it matters economically, but there's something else that's even more important. That is building alliances in a dangerous world. The Labour frontbench pointed to conflicts in Ukraine, the Middle East and Sudan, tensions over Taiwan, the threat of climate change and the risk of a second Donald Trump presidency. Yes, all these are well-pointed points there. I think the headline's a little bit misleading, if I'm honest. It didn't really attack Labour, if I'm honest. A bit misleading, I think, the headline there from the Independent, from the way it comes across to me. I mean, maybe you guys would disagree with me, but it didn't come across like huge attack and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that, just on that final point before we move on to the last article, I will come to chat briefly. You know, Brexit's not going away. We are going to keep talking about it. It is going to be the big white elephant in the room, and it is going to play a part in the general election. It's not going to be the talking point, but people will bring it up. People will ask about it because it's something that, yes, people are fed up of talking about, but you know, people like myself and others are aware of the harm that it is causing, and businesses that have suffered due to Brexit, fishermen that have suffered due to Brexit, the steelworks that have suffered due to Brexit, because that's had an impact on it as well. They will point these out once it's been made aware. They will point these things out, and the mainstream media can try to hide this under a rug, but local areas and businesses, they will be aware of this. So they can't hide it forever. Eventually, they're going to have to talk about it. Trump looks like he will get the Republican nomination. Yeah, Ron DeSantis dropped out, didn't he? Yeah. That guy. He stood up to Trump, and now look at him, sucking up to him. He's a yo-yo, he is. How is he going to do that, I wonder? Anyone looked at the conditions to join the SM, says Zhao. Canada Power says, I think they know that they're talking about rejoining would be a golden opportunity for the Tories and try to turn every Leave voter against them. Yeah, they know Labour. I think they're just playing. I think they're concerned about the right wing media. Is what I think it is. Zhao says, I've heard people speaking about this, and almost all EU economic agents consider the UK a toxic economy and highly premature, and no one will risk our economy for the UK's economy. Sorry. Well, at the moment, right now, they don't want to touch the UK. But we're hoping that relationships will change, obviously, when with a Labour government, if that does happen, obviously. Wants to regain the red wall, but he ignores the mass desires to move back towards the EU. Perhaps we should launch our own Unite party. I don't think, you launching another political party is going to be the right thing to do right now. There's enough. There is the Rejoin EU party, isn't there? As the Keir says, the UK is not part of the banking system. It does not as a fail-safe of the EU's economy en masse. Canada Power says, let's see what happens after we get the damn Tories out to number 3. Yeah, let's obviously we will hold Labour to the fire, but let's get rid of the ones in power right now is what we need to do. Support of Brexit appears to be on a high 40%. I think Labour has the right balance. Agree that Brexit sucks, says Colin. So Larry the Cat says, yes, Mr. Bean, as it is by magic, the shopkeeper appeared. Yeah, Mr. Bean. Yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Sadiq Khan has lost the Muslim and Jurians voters, in my opinion. You know what? If you're saying that, Keir, if the Conservatives didn't have such an idiot running for the Mayor of London, if they actually had someone with some competence, they would actually beat Sadiq Khan, I think. I generally believe that. If they had someone with some competence, instead of such an absolute buffoon of a person running against Khan. She was so embarrassing in that call with Nick Ferrari. And I was just thinking to myself, like they've shot themselves in the foot so badly. If they just got somebody with some competence, they could easily beat Sadiq Khan, because a lot of people are fed up with Sadiq Khan. I think he's still a very good London mayor, but you know, if you're going to put a really pathetic candidate like that, you're just handing it to Labour. If the Conservatives put a half decent person, they would have a realistic chance of beating Khan. That's how embarrassing that is. Another party may force Labour to reconsider, like reform of the Tories. It's probably a pipeline dream, however, says number 3. Yep, trust is gone. Yeah, the trust is gone. Hugh says, everyone has their thing. Mine being a USA diplomat living in Wales. Yes, he couldn't make it up. It's a fair point, but getting the Tories out is more important. IMO says, no, count down to power. Yeah, I do agree with that, but we need a national unity government. We probably won't get one, but we need one, says number 3. That won't happen. There's no... That unfortunately won't happen. The Republicans are like the Tories on steroids, and Trump is ball bag Johnson times 100. Sudan, I know. Feckle, what a numpty. Yeah. Suzanne, is that her name? Like, I don't even know her name. All I know is she's just down the drain, if I'm honest, guys. Right, one more article for you guys. If you can, also hit the like button, share across social media, all that usual stuff, guys. That really does help. So you guys already know about this, but I'm going to talk about it from Byline Times perspective. The Culture Secretary hit out at supposedly BBC bias, but claims Ofcom-Hit GB News is balanced. The comments come despite GB News being the subject of a swathe of Ofcom complaints about its broadcast and Conservative MPs interviewing other Conservative MPs on the channel. Yeah. What? Something is definitely wrong here. What do you think, Ollie? Ollie's still mad. I think Ollie's mad because there's been no new YouTube memberships. Maybe that's just me. Let's read into this, guys. So, Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser criticised the BBC for its lack of impartiality while appearing... I don't know why Byline Times have done this, but if you ever put your cursor over it, this comes up now. I don't know why they did that. I can clear that. Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser criticised the BBC for its lack of impartiality while appearing to praise controversial broadcaster GB News for being balanced. She claimed the BBC is no longer seen by viewers as sufficiently impartial, comments which have made the front page of the Telegraph as she announced that public broadcaster website and social media would be the subject of regulation by broadcast regulator Ofcom, ostensibly to make the BBC more accountable and trustworthy. However, the government's review of the BBC is not only confined to the claims of impartiality, but also funding. Fraser said it is not appropriate for the BBC to have criminal tools in its armoury to prosecute people for not paying their TV licence fees, suggesting that she will significantly water down the body's ability to reinforce payment on the levy. But this morning she also downplayed criticisms of GB News, saying it offers balance across the spectrum. How many Labour MPs have been on GB News? How many Liberal Democrats have been on GB News? How many Green Party members have been on GB News? Has Sir Keir Starmer ever been on GB News? I thought so. When challenged about Conservative MPs interviewing other Conservative MPs on the channel, as well as swathes of live Ofcom investigations into the broadcaster, Jamie Stone MP, the Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Culture, Media and Sport, hit back, said Fraser was prioritising culture war over supporting the BBC's delivery of quality. Oh, excuse me, I've got a bit of reflux, so that's why that's been happening a bit at the moment. Hit back. I'll start again. Jamie Stone, the Liberal Democrat spokesperson for culture, media and sport, hit back, said Fraser was prioritising culture wars over supporting the BBC's delivery of quality service. I will say the BBC has quality service, but in terms of their politicking, it's not unbiased. This attack on the BBC is yet another desperate distraction from a government in distress, he said. The BBC is the number one source of trusted news in the world, and that comes down to proper independence and resilience to the political pressure we see from this Conservative government, he added. Yeah, the Labour need to get rid of as much Conservative influence within the BBC as possible and bring back impartiality. They really need to get impartiality back into it, so that really does matter. Good night, Ben Shaw. Take care, buddy. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate it. It comes amid the government's push for reform within the BBC following heated debates over its coverage of sensitive issues, including its reporting on the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, with some critical of the BBC's reluctance to call Hamas fighters terrorists. There is also growing condemnation of BBC's Match of the Day host Gary Lineker, who is a freelancer but faces heavy scrutiny over his political commentary on social media. This is so dumb. Like, leave the guy alone. He's entitled to his opinion like everybody else. It just annoys me so much that they keep attacking him. Gary Lineker actually was one of my first videos on YouTube. It was one of my first videos. TV presenter India Wickerby questioned whether Fraser's concerns about bias applied to left-wing concerns over the BBC or were solely focused on allegations of bias against right-wing viewpoints. Meanwhile, Labour writer David Olsland cited incentives of senior BBC figures having closer ties to the Conservative Party. You don't say. In a Sky News interview today, Fraser was challenged over the evidence for bias in the BBC. She could only point to broadcasters' mistakes and perception of bias rather than any academic studies. So basically, you're just stirring up shit. Yeah. The latest Prejudice Rhetoric Institute for Study of Journalism reported indicate an increase in public trust in BBC News, contrary to the government's stance. Yeah, they still have that pressure, though, from the Conservatives, but I'm not sure if I like that there's increased trust in the BBC. I'm not sure if I like that, especially at the moment. Former BBC presenter Carol Vorderman and former senior BBC journalist Rob Burley have both highlighted the influence of Sir Robert Gibb, a former head of communications for Prime Minister Theresa May, a member of the BBC board and a key figure in the launch of GB News as a former editorial advisor for the channel. Fraser defended GB News, claiming it has balance across the spectrum. She was asked on the BBC Today programme whether GB News would be described as impartial when so many of its shows are presented by former or current, often leading members of a governing party. In comments widely published by the Ofcom probing channel itself, Fraser replied, "A broadcaster has to be impartial over the spectrum of what it broadcasts. So I've listened to your news this morning and you've expressed your mid-term reviews in different ways across this programme this morning. It's sometimes put in the government's perspective and sometimes put in the BBC's perspective. There is a balance across the spectrum in relation to GB News, while it isn't regulated by the government yet." Dan Wotton's 26 September 2023 show on GB News drew the most TV programme complaints to Ofcom the whole year, with nearly 9,000 complaints. They followed misogynist comments made by the actor-turned-activist Lauren Fox about journalist Ava Evans. Fox was sacked by the channel and Wotton is suspended. Yeah. It's so infuriating to hear them attacking the BBC and then calling GB News balanced when they are the most revolting, I'm going to say revolting channel. I don't like talking about GB News and I don't like covering them, and I really do avoid covering anything related to them. I let other YouTubers do that, to be honest, guys, but yeah, they really are a nasty piece of work, to be fair, guys. So I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat because we got one funny video to see you guys out, because I know we're going well over time. Just going to quickly scroll up. Well, I say well over time, 10 minutes over. It's not the end of the world. Read that. I've gone too far. Read that already, going too far again. The poor brain cells swimming in a sea of cousins. These people are nutters. These people are in power, says number 3. Yep, they are nutters. GBB's balanced. Yeah, I know. They say GBB's is balanced. Garen Box News balanced, says the lefty voter. Yeah. Apparently it's balanced. Yeah. GB News balance. Spit out my coffee there, kid. No, don't spit out your coffee. GB News and balance in the same sentence is sci-fi, says Chow. I wouldn't know. I never watch it. Yeah, don't watch GB News, Countdown to Power. It's not worth your sanity. Good lord, how channel of the entertainment from Americas. BBC is no longer a reference round here, at least, says Jow. Well, the BBC is obviously definitely not. It definitely has issues in Scotland. I've heard it more than enough times on here, guys, and as well from the two Davies as well. I don't think they're bothered about Gary being biased. They're just bothered that he's right, and more people listen to him than watch GB News. Yeah, that is true, to be fair. The two Davies show Max Lives here have more views than GBB's. That's true. You should definitely watch the two Davies. Although I'm terrible, guys, because I missed it again today. I am terrible. I did catch up with the Thursday one on Sunday, actually, believe it or not. I watched it really late in the evening. But I need to catch up on today's one. I think only one of the Davies turned up today, correct me if I'm wrong. BBC Scotland had to make more corrections last year than the rest of the network combined, says Mark Wilkie. I talked about this before, but about a year or two ago, the BBC was caught admitting not lying about news, so most channels in Portugal stopped using them as reference. Ooh. Canada Power says, remember when the BBC replaced the footage of Johnson placing the wreath on the centaur with a different one because he cropped it up and then tried to pretend it was a mistake? That's not good. That's what they do with good old news stories they have here. Mark says to Jow. Love myself a Davey rant. Yeah, you do love ourselves a Davey McGuinness rant. That's for sure, guys. So, guys, just before I hit the not outro video, but I've got one more funny video for you guys before we go. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along today. Really appreciate it. Whether you liked, shared, just comment in the chat, or just watching along. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for always for your support. I really do appreciate it. We are roughly on 775 subscribers, which probably be up or down at the moment of time of recording. Obviously, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Really does help us. Really does help me. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers, guys, because that is the next benchmark for the channel. If you guys consider becoming a YouTube member for just 99p, or becoming a corporal member for $2.99, which gives you early access to all my videos. I know some of the corporals who are here. They got to see. They've seen quite a lot of videos already have been put up. For them to see them, so you guys can see them nice and early if you want to be that for just $2.99. You get to see those videos early if you become a YouTube corporal as well. But yeah, you could also do the cheap 99p one, which of course allows you guys access to emojis. You always get response there to my. I always respond to your comments, and I always obviously try to respond to every single one of your comments in the live chat as well. And I really do appreciate everybody who has been a YouTube member. And thank you again, number 3, for the super chat today. Greatly appreciate it, buddy. So we got one more video for you guys. It is without a doubt Matt Green. No Colin from Portsmouth for some reason. I think he's. I don't know what he's probably hanging out with. I think he's hanging out with Colin Thompson in New York, probably. Something like that, maybe. But just before we go, obviously, I'm going to turn Ollie around because Ollie's happy because number 3 was very nice to donate a super chat today. So Ollie's very happy today. But guys, yeah, make sure if you guys ain't got nothing else to do and you want to hang out with me after the show, you want to come and hang out in the Discord chat, you're more than welcome to do so. I'll be hanging out there as well. All hail the orb as well. Thank you, everybody, as always, for your words, your thoughts, and all that kind of stuff. I really do appreciate it. So guys, let's see what Matt Green has to say. I have not watched this, guys. The headline is Ministers Attack the BBC Over Bias. I have not watched this. This is 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So let's hear how this goes, guys. I'm really looking forward to this.
The government is giving Ofcom stronger powers to deal with the BBC amidst accusations of bias. We were due to talk to the Culture Secretary about this, but instead she sent one of her junior ministers. Yes, I'm afraid she's catching up with the traitors. The second series? No, the MPs who voted against the Rwanda bill. So, Minister, exactly how do you think the BBC is biased? Well, there's a perception in the public that it's biased. But where's the evidence of that? There's evidence of a public perception of bias. Sorry, but evidence of perception of bias isn't evidence of bias, is it? No, but impartiality is a matter of perception, and our impartial perception is of a public perception of partiality. Sorry, can you say that again? I highly doubt it. So are you saying that the BBC is biased? I think that on occasion it has been biased. Can you give me an example? Well, it's not a question of examples, it's more a question of a vibe. You know, I was on a BBC programme very recently, and I got the very strong vibe that the presenter did not like me. In what way? It was just a look she gave me. You know. And as I was explaining that the coffee cup had been poorly placed by one of her junior staff, which is why I had accidentally knocked it into her lap at the beginning of a live broadcast, it was almost like she wasn't listening. Okay, but can you give me an example of the BBC being biased in its reporting? Well, they've reported several times that Brexit isn't going well, but is that not just the reality? Not our reality. That's why we've given more powers to the board, who we've appointed to ensure that the BBC conforms to the correct conservative reality. Shouldn't the BBC try to report objective reality? There's no such thing. But as I said, our job is simply to point out that the public has a perception of bias. And where does the public get that perception from? I'm sorry? Is it possible that the public's perception is wrong? I mean, that they've got this perception of bias from years of attacks from a hostile, predominantly right-wing press and negative government messaging. Complaints from the public are going up. People are angry. But surely impartiality means you'll anger everybody sometimes. How about a programme that got 50 complaints saying it was too left-wing and 50 complaints saying it was too right-wing? Doesn't that show a sort of balance? Sounds like 100 complaints to me, and they could halve that number instantly if they simply stuck to being impartial. The right wing. Thank you, Minister. Next up, as former frontrunner Ron DeSantis ends his campaign to be president before the New Hampshire primary and endorses Donald Trump, we ask, what's the most expensive and embarrassing mistake that you've ever made? And how much better do you feel about it now?
Well, to be fair, Ron DeSantis, that guy, there was a time where Ron DeSantis could have really challenged Trump, and now he's just his little he's turned into his lapdog. Did you know that Trump actually humiliated his family as well? That's how bad it was for him. Guys, make sure you check out Matt Green. Make sure you're a subscriber to him, like, share, and all that stuff. Go watch the video on his channel. As always, guys, really support him and his fantastic work. And yes, do check out his live tour, because he's got a live tour going on. So if you're in the UK, definitely worth checking out. You can see it there on the screen as well, if you can afford it. If not, it's all good, guys. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've got nothing else to do, come join me in the Discord chat to hang out for a little bit. But if not, guys, take care. Have a great week, and I will see you guys tomorrow night on Max's live stream, or in the morning brew with Phil from A Different Bias. Take care, everyone, and good night.